What's good, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Gridiron Brawl. We are your hosts, Sam and Pat, back for episode 7. We're going to be breaking down a ton of stuff, week 3, COVID stuff, all the waiver wire stuff, week 4 predictions, all the normal stuff on Gridiron Brawl. We're going to bring it all to you here today. It's going to be a bit of a shorter episode this time. We're going to try to keep it to an hour. We got some stuff to do after, so if we don't get anything out, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Gridiron Brawl. We'll make sure to get that out after. But first of all, Pat, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Sam. As you see behind me, Packers 3-0. Big Sunday night football primetime victory. Another nice week of football, good primetime games. We finished out with a Chiefs-Ravens Monday night game. A little bit surprising. The Chiefs really just dominated that entire game. But, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We had news that came out this morning, the COVID with the Titans, Vikings. 5 personnel, 3 players tested positive. We're going to talk about all that, like Sam said. But, Sam, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I mean, Niners just came off a big win. I mean, people are saying, oh, it's the Giants. I mean, blowing out the Giants with no quarterback. No, we don't even need to talk about their injuries because we've gone over them last week. There's so many on the team that everyone knows about. Blowing out that team, that feels so good, man. Coming home now. Got the Sunday night game against Philadelphia. I'm feeling pretty confident about that. So, future's looking bright for us. We got the win with all the injuries. Now we got Kittle back, Debo back. Mostert's probably going to be back, maybe even Garoppolo. So we'll see what happens. But I'm looking forward to our upcoming schedule and that Week 9 matchup between our two teams, man. That should be a good one to watch. So, yeah. All right. So
yeah, we have a lot. Big revenge game for us.
Big revenge game for you guys. I know you guys want that badly. So we'll see how that goes. So, anyways, let's just get right into it, guys. So usually we like to start off with the Thursday night game and go down the list, but today we're going to start a bit different. We're going to start with the Titans and Vikings game. First, let's talk about how the game went, and then we'll talk about the outbreak and everything about that. But I got to say, man, the Vikings, they looked pretty good that game. I mean, they've been struggling a lot, and they are still struggling. Their defense, their cornerbacks have not been playing to expectations. I had really high hopes on Cam Dantzler and Jeff Gladney going into the draft. It appears that it's not going that well for them. But other than that, I think the Vikings definitely need to keep a close game, especially with this undefeated Titans team. And now the Titans moving on to 3-0 without A.J. Brown. That definitely says something, or Isaiah Wilson as well. That definitely says something about this team. And I think they're going to be looking to contend for a Super Bowl maybe. We'll see how the season goes. But, I mean, I was the only one that predicted AFC South champs. Nobody else thought that on this team. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought the Titans were a playoff team, and we did those predictions without the Clown, right before Clowney. So I think the Clowney trade might have put them over the edge, but you did pick that for sure, so I'll give you that one. The Vikings I didn't have as a playoff team this year. One of the big reasons why was Stephon Diggs. When you have Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, they were one of the best duo last season for the last 2 to 3 years in the NFL, and finding a replacement for him was their real – what they were looking for in the offseason. They did that in the draft in the first round. They selected Justin Jefferson. And in the first 2 weeks, Justin Jefferson played, but he didn't really do too much. He had an incredible game. He had 9 targets with 7 catches, 175 yards and a touchdown. Absolutely lit it up. And this is a thing where the Vikings, if they need to, they play the Texans this upcoming week, 2 0-3 teams. 2 0-3 teams is a must-win game. And they're going to need Justin Jefferson going further. And Cam Dantzler has been out the past 2 games. So he's, they hopefully can get him back from injury. But the Vikings looked better. But this is a really solid start for the Titans. Like you said, no A.J. Brown, some injuries and some question marks on their team. But Tannehill's been doing solid. Henry really, stepped it up this week. Good game. Really, really good game from Dalvin Cook on the other side for the Vikings. But solid performance from the Titans.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you talk about that Vikings-Texans game. We're going to go into that later, but whoever goes down 0-4, there's going to be a lot of problems within that organization. I think maybe even if the Texans lose, you could see Bill O'Brien out the door. I mean, we'll also talk about the coaching, but I mean, it's a big game next week for both teams. They have to win this game or else something is very wrong within the organization. But we just spoke about Justin Jefferson. And in my opinion, that's going to be one of the biggest waiver wire picks of the week. I really wanted him on my team at the draft because I love the upside of him. I thought he had the most upside out of any receiver fantasy-wise, maybe besides Henry Ruggs. But still, Justin Jefferson was my number 2 rookie wide receiver. And I mean, people did not believe him after the first 2 weeks. Now he comes out and puts up 30 points, 30 plus points. People are going to be all over him. And personally, I'm not putting a waiver claim for him because I know that's the person ahead of me is taking him. So there's no point in me putting in a claim for him. But still, man, I think if you have the opportunity to put in a claim for him, you got to do it this week. That's the number one player, in my opinion, for this week on the waiver wire.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's one of those things that he didn't just come in because of an injury. He didn't come in just because of a lucky touchdown. He's getting the targets. He's producing now, and it's showing it on the field. So doesn't look like it's a 1 week, performance from Jefferson. This looks like it's continued. So I agree. I think he's a top waiver wire out of the week for sure.
Yeah, top waiver wire. And I mean, a lot of people were saying Jefferson's coming in to replace Diggs. First 2 weeks doesn't show it. Now he's showing it. And I'm telling you, man, this dude, I mean, he is the reason why I stayed away from Adam Thielen in all of my drafts last year, because I knew that Justin Jefferson had the opportunity to overtake Adam Thielen as that number one receiver. I mean, look at last year's stats for Thielen. Even though he was hurt, he only had like 400 yards, which really isn't that good in my opinion, despite being hurt. But I mean, now you got Jefferson there. He's going to do a lot more damage now. And I think if the Vikings can get it rolling, I think you're going to see a lot more targets to him. And I mean, let's be fair. They played they've started the year out with Bears, Packers, Titans. All three of those teams undefeated at this point of the season. So they've had probably the roughest. It's the Vikings Texans matchup. That's got to be the two teams that have had the roughest schedules. I mean, you got KC, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, and Chicago, Green Bay, and Tennessee. Man, those are six of the best teams in football, if I'm being completely honest. So it's going to be a very interesting game. Do not doubt the Vikings, though. I think they're definitely going to step back up. I had them going to the playoffs for a reason, man. So.
Yeah, I mean, last thing to say with this game, Justin Jefferson, I mean, he had 111 catches, 1,500 yards, 18 touchdowns last year at LSU. Like, that's no fluke. Those are huge numbers. He won Receiver of the Year, so I think this is definitely a guy that is going to start really coming on throughout the course of the season. But that's all I got to say for that game.
Same here.
With COVID, though, that's the last thing I had to say with the actual game. But with the whole COVID, this is something to keep an eye on. This is 3 players that tested positive as of right now. So I don't know. This is an interesting situation because if this game gets canceled, Steelers, Titans gets canceled, there's going to be a lot of scheduling issues that are going to come across, and they could, fix it weak. But if other teams keep having breakouts, this is going to be something that's going to definitely have an effect negatively on the NFL season.
Yeah, I mean, the NFL right now, I got to say, I got 3 things to say about this. First of all, they're lucky it's only 8 people out of like 53 plus coaches plus practice squad, and then double that for the other team. They're very lucky that it's at 8 people right now. It could be a lot more. We'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, that's the first thing I gotta say. Second thing, I think they're also really lucky because of how the schedule plays out. I sent you that tweet earlier today where if they can't play the game on Sunday, the Steelers can have their bye week, and then Ravens Steelers can get pushed back to week 8, and that's all they have to do to fix the schedule. So I mean, and then Steelers Titans week 7. So I mean, obviously I don't want to do that. They're preparing for a game on Sunday, which I'm hoping happens. Monday Night Football is another option for this game. You move the Packers Falcons game up to Sunday, or do a doubleheader Monday night. Both are viable options. But I think the NFL is getting lucky in this scenario. But the third thing that's kind of confusing me right now is only 8 people. It's just really surprising me. And the fact that they shut down the facility until Saturday. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to downplay the virus at all. But there have been players like Raquel Armstead, Fred Warner. I don't know if Fred Warner was a confirmed positive case or not, but I know AJ Terrell, I believe, was a confirmed positive case. They didn't shut down the facility at all for 1 player, and now for 3 players, they shut it down. So something must have changed in the NFL for that. So I want to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah, no, this is something also to add on to that. I don't know if anybody's been talking about this, but I keep track of like when you're going through the depth charts, and I keep like a COVID list. And there's a cornerback on the Titans named Greg Mabin. He was a practice squad corner. And yeah,
do not talk about that guy.
But no, so not talk about his play. That's funny.
Oh my God, that guy ruined my life for a entire. That guy ruined my life. But anyways, continue.
but he tested positive last week. Like during the week, he got placed on the COVID practice squad. He got tested positive. So he could have potentially been the start of, the spread. If a practice squad tight end player got it, another long snap, like that's something where he was the only positive case they've seen. So like you were just saying, they didn't shut it down if Chris Milton got COVID. So he could have been the reason why they could have it right now. Honestly, that's what I'm looking at.
Have they posted the COVID list yet for the Titans?
Yeah, so it's Tommy Hudson, a practice squad tight end. It's their long snapper and defensive tackle Daquan Jones, who's their starting D tackle, and then 5 personnel people. So that's one practice squad, 1 long snap, and 1 active starter.
Yeah, I also heard a report today that, and if this is true, this is going to lead to some serious consequences. That they knew that a linebacker coach had COVID, and they just ignored it completely. So if that's true, there's going to be fines. There's going to be draft picks lost. There's going to be suspensions, maybe even bans. I don't know, but the outcome for this, if that's true, it is going to be very interesting to see how the NFL handles it, because they might slam the hammer on them. And
they've been getting,
I wouldn't be surprised if that comes out true. I would not be surprised if the NFL took away their first round pick this year. I think that's how serious they're taken. Yeah,
they've been fining $100,000 for not wearing a mask. So exactly, like they're gonna really set an example if a team doesn't. If that's true, that you could be right. It could be a first round pick. It could be a second round pick. They might get disqualified that game. Like you don't know what they could do. You never know. Mm-hmm. They're gonna take it a serious matter.
Absolutely. And I mean, if they might have to disqualify that game, especially I'd say if the Vikings get it, then they're going to have to disqualify that game. That could be the most serious punishment we've ever seen in NFL history. I mean, we thought Deflategate was bad. If that's true, just think about what's about to come for the Tennessee Titans. So, although I haven't seen anyone else report it, and usually when that happens, there's one person reporting it, no one else is reporting it. I've always just learned to be that it is false. So, we'll have to wait and see. But this could lead to a huge fallout throughout the NFL. So definitely something to keep an eye on throughout the next week. You got anything else on the game, COVID? Anything else?
No, I'm good for now.
All right, perfect. So now let's go back to the normal schedule, starting with a Thursday night game where the Dolphins beat the Jaguars 31-13. And I got to say, man, I was disappointed in the Jaguars. I thought they were going to do a lot better, keep this game a close game. I started Keelan Cole on my fantasy team for a reason, and that did not work out at all. He put up 8.3, which is okay. But, I benched Galladay and McLaurin over Keelan Cole, which didn't work out. Luckily, I won. But Gardner Minshew did not look like himself that game compared to what he has in the past.
No, he did not. Fitzmagic was phenomenal. He was having fun out there. He had 2 incomplete passes, 18 for 20, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns, and the one guy that really stood out to me was the undrafted rookie James Robinson from Illinois State. 2 rushing touchdowns, 83 reception yards, 46 rushes, 6 catches. He really was the focal point of that offense, even in a loss. So that was the one bright spot for me with the Jaguars. I really think that DJ Shark is one of the most underrated receivers in the NFL, if not like Absolutely. He's up there. And I think that without him and Gardner are a really nice 1-2 pair. And I think that without him, that really hurt them. But I really liked what I saw from Fitzmagic. He always is good for at least 1 to 2 of those a year, especially in the early parts of the season. Almost should have saw it come in prime time, Fitzmagic. But the Dolphins, Myles Gaskin, they fed him the rock. They were throwing it to him, running to him. They really gave him the ball a lot.
Yeah, I think he had like 22 carries or something like that, which is pretty good considering that this is supposed to be a committee. So lots of running in that Dolphins team. So Myles Gaskin, another waiver wire pickup to get. We talked about him last week, so I assume he's going to be pretty much rostered after this week if he's not already available in your league. But overall, it was a great performance by the Dolphins. They moved to 1-2, get their first win of the year. And I got to say, man, as a Niners fan, I'm happy for the Dolphins and happy for Fitzmagic because now, Week 5's coming up. Week 5's coming up soon. I was kind of scared of Tua because we can't handle the mobile quarterback that well. And after that game, I think they're probably going to stick with Ryan Fitzpatrick for that game. So we'll see what happens. But knock on wood that Tua doesn't do anything. So yeah, but Gardner got to step it up if they want to. They're trying to run through the team through him. And I mean, he had a great week 1, week 2, week 3 kind of fell off a little bit. And if they're gonna draft a quarterback if Gardner Minshew doesn't step it up, so he's really got to step it up right away. So, yeah. Also, one other thing I gotta say, fantasy implication: if you have James Robinson on your team, I am trading him immediately, or I would trade him immediately. And the reason being is because you're gonna get guys like a Zigbo. You got Reichel Armstead coming back; those guys are coming back. And I don't think that Robinson's going to get as many receptions as he did last game. I mean, no Chark. Chark's going to be back. They're going to give the ball to Shenault more. Chris Conley was terrible that game, so I think they might, if he's doing well, they're going to give the ball to him a bit more. So if I'm a James Robinson owner, I am trading him immediately, and you can get a very high price out of him.
So, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move on to the next game. My Niners blew out the Giants 36-9. Overall, a great game for us, I got to say. I mean, with all those injuries, you're always a bit concerned playing another game. But this time you get a blowout win, and you move back on week 4. Going to get a much healthier squad. You're going to get some key players back. Deebo Samuel's going to make his debut. Overall, this was a win that we had. This is a game that we had to win, and we did it perfectly. Now, as for the Giants, man, Daniel Jones, that was an awful performance for him. And that the pass game really concerned me, or just the overall offense really concerned me because they couldn't get going anywhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you look around the NFL as like Giant fans, Jet fans, when you see Sam Darnold and you see Daniel Jones kind of keep putting up pretty below average performances, and then you go up and see Joe Burrow gets sacked 8 times, gets hit 18 times, I believe, by the Eagles, and still throws for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, gets no help. And it's like you see there's so many young quarterbacks that are coming out there, and they're putting up numbers pretty quick. Even Justin Herbert throws 300 yards, and not saying that he looks so much better than those two guys, but at some point, Daniel Jones, I keep saying it every week, he's got to hold on to the football. He fumbles every single week. He throws one bad pass, one bad interception every single week. Those could be the 2 different points, the difference maker of every single game when you're in, and they're always in crucial times. I just don't like what I've been seeing from this Giants team. I think that the problem starts here with David Gettleman. I think he really constructed a really horrible roster from the past 4 years. He's just been doing a terrible job. On the 49ers standpoint, I think one thing that people really don't really do enough in fantasy football that I think I started just doing it this week, and it was with the 49ers player, who's Jeff Wilson. Around Wednesday, Thursday, when you're looking at your roster, and you might have an entire team set out for starting, but if you have that extra roster spot and you see that a player might break out this week and he might be the next top waiver wire pickup for this next upcoming week, it's nice to add them on your roster. Looking at Jeff Wilson going into this week, like last game into the Giants, he was going to be him or McKinnon were getting the ball. And there's so many weird times where Jeff Wilson scores random touchdowns when there's players hurt. It happened in the last 2 years a couple of times. That to me, this seemed like a big Jeff Wilson game. And he didn't do too much yards-wise. He didn't get the ball that much, but he had 2 huge touchdowns and scored 21, 22 points, depending on your league. So this is a guy that if Coleman and Mostert are going to keep being out, Jeff Wilson's going to get probably more touches and more carries. So I think him and McKinnon, I think I would add both of them on the team if you could. But good win for the Niners. I'm a big fan of Nick Mullins. He's one of the better backups in this league, and good win for them.
Absolutely. Yeah, here's my thing about Jeff Wilson. Personally, I'm avoiding him fantasy waiver wire. I'm waiting. I would pick him up if he clears waivers, then I'm picking him up. But I don't want to draft a 4th-string running back, especially when Mostert's about to come back. McKinnon's been balling out, and he's going to be the workhorse in San Francisco until Raheem Mostert comes back. And I understand that, yes, he has an upper ribs injury and he is day-to-day, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to play on Sunday night against the Eagles. Just by the way he seemed after the game, Shanahan didn't seem too concerned about him. So I think Wilson is a player I would avoid. Plus, I also really like JaMychal Hasty, who's creeping up his spine a little bit. Even though he didn't play that much, I just really love JaMychal Hasty a lot. So that's just a personal anecdote. But yeah, I think great performance from the Niners. The Giants really got to step it up, and that's the reason we all predicted them to go last in that division, the weak NFC East. So yeah, for sure. You got anything else?
Last take would be almost Charlie Warner season. Jordan Reed gets hurt. I know they brought back Daniel Helm, so if Kittle's out, you're looking at a Ross Dwelly, Charlie Warner, Daniel Helm. So there could be a potential Warner time soon. And on the Giants aspect, Devontae Freeman gets signed. I was mentioning him a couple weeks ago. He was gonna get signed. Then he gets signed. 5 carries, 10 yards. Really tough start for him. So, I mean, it's a tough defensive front for the Niners. We'll see if he picks it up next week.
Yeah, personally, I'm not surprised by that at all. I didn't think he was going to do well. That's why I put 3 waiver wire claims in last week to drop 1 player, which was Saquon. Devontae was the 3rd one. And this week I picked him up. I made a trade because I was desperate on running backs. Over on paper, doesn't look too good, but I got Devontae, David Johnson. I think that's going to help me significantly. 2 guys at a pretty low price considering how well they've been doing, and I think they're about to step up big time for their team. So, yeah, if you can get Devontae Freeman for a very low price, I would do so right away. So, yeah. Speaking of the NFC East that we were just talking about, let's talk about the Bengals and the Eagles, a tie. Now, I'm very vocal about ties. I hate ties in the NFL. I think they should get rid of ties. But besides that fact, what an awful performance from the Eagles, man. And I'm just so excited to play them next week. Like, this team is – I don't know how this team is going to make the playoffs at all. And I think honestly you could start blowing up right now if you wanted to.
There's a real problem when and hopefully this doesn't happen for your case, but when you lose a Super Bowl, or sometimes it happens even when you win a Super Bowl, those next upcoming years, it can get ugly. You saw it with Cam Newton and the Panthers. They lost to the Broncos, and then it got ugly there for the next couple of years. That's what we're kind of seeing here, where everyone knows Nick Foles won that Super Bowl. Carson Wentz is now, the last 2 years, he keeps getting doubted if he could stay healthy, be their starter. He's looked really shitty these past 3 weeks. He hasn't looked great last year, and even when he had that one little stretch before he got hurt that he looked really solid. But at some point, I mean, you gotta have to look. The guy's thrown 6 interceptions. His numbers statistically are worse than Mitch Trubisky, and Mitch Trubisky got pulled. So, I mean, I know I went to school. I'm from New Jersey, but I went to school in South Jersey, right? It was 20 minutes from Philadelphia. And from listening to Philly sports radio, it's different out there. Like, they will demand the Carson Wentz to get replaced.
It's ridiculous.
If he has one bad game. And I was seeing that 3 years ago. I couldn't even imagine what it's like now. Like, people are probably calling in every second to get Kim out of there, get Peterson out of there, everyone out of there. So I think if this season keeps going bad and it looks how it goes, I can see, it going. Jim Schwartz, like the defensive coordinator, gets fired. I could see them getting rid of a lot of their main key parts of their organization. I can see them potentially moving on from Carson Wentz. But there is, like I said, if they didn't win this week, it was a panic mode. They tied it. If they don't win this week against the Niners, I mean, there's real serious problems here in Philadelphia.
And I think the thing is they're probably not going to beat the Niners. I mean, this team is just blew out 2 opponents. Yes, they're bad opponents, but still they blew them out. They're getting Kittle back. They're getting Debo back. I've talked enough about them. I mean, I just don't see how the Eagles beat this Niners team week 4 under the primetime lights. This team is a struggling team trying to find their identity. And I think this kind of goes with the coaching point that we had for this episode. I think Doug Peterson hasn't done that great of a job here in Philadelphia. I feel like that one season, that was it. I mean, you barely made the playoffs 2018. You barely made the playoffs 2019. And now it's looking like it's all over in Philly. I mean, yes, they have the injury bug across that offensive line, but I mean, the receiving core has not stepped it up at all. I mean, they were hoping to get those receivers stepping it up, whether it was Jalen Reagor, Marquise Goodwin, who opted out, Quez Watkins, Deshaun Jackson. No one's really stepping it up. The only guy on that offense who has been stepping it up is Dallas Goedert, and I believe it's an ankle fracture. So, I mean, he's going to be out for a while now. And, I mean, on that defensive side, I haven't even noticed anyone on that defense playing well besides, like, Brandon Graham maybe. So, I think they got to be in panic mode right now.
On the other side of it, I was on the other side of it with Joe Burrow. I think Joe Burrow's been playing very, very well. they haven't won a game yet, but this is back-to-back 300-yard games. He's thrown 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions his past 2 games. Like I said before, he got hit 18 times and had 8 sacks against him this game. Dude's tough. First game of the year, he ran it in against the Chargers. Didn't win the game, but they lost on a missed field goal. Could have won that game. Against the Browns, throws 300 yards, like I just said. Like, I think this guy, for what's been asked for him, he's really stepped up to the plate and he's looked good for the Bengals. I think the Bengals have a really nice opportunity to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars this week. They'll be 1-1-1, I believe, or 1-2-1 on the year. So it would be, I guess, a bounce back win for them. I think they got to get this win here this week. But I like what I see from Burrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Reese and I talked about how we thought Joe Burrow was going to bust in the NFL, and so far he's been proving us wrong. I mean, yes, he hasn't won a game yet, but I think that's a huge part to his offensive line. And I mean, I was saying also high ceiling. He knows the playbook well because he was studying the playbook back in February, way before he was drafted, and it's definitely showing now. I mean, he's been balling out for that team. And yes, he's been spreading the ball a lot too. So, I mean, that's always good from a quarterback because if one receiver is not doing well, he's going to target the other guy. He's not afraid to take targets off of other people. So, yeah, definitely. And it's definitely looking like a pass-first team. I mean, Mixon hasn't done much so far. So, I think the one problem with the Bengals on offense, you got to add those pass blockers. But other than that, man, the future looks bright for this Bengals team. So, I'm very excited to see what they can do. So, yeah, you got anything else on the Bengals or the Eagles or anything else on that game?
No, I'm good.
Perfect. Let's move on to the Raiders and Patriots. The Patriots won 36-20. I don't really have much to say about this game. This was kind of a result I expected. The one thing I will say is that the Patriots are not gone, and every NFL fan should still be scared of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I'm completely agreeing here. I think once you said the game, I didn't really have much to say about it. Rex Burkhead really stood out to me. I mean, he had 3 touchdowns. He really did very well to replacing James White, and he had a good game last week too. So I want to see Cam get the ball out more towards Edelman. Edelman had a huge game last week, but N'Keal Harry, more specifically him, I just want to see him be able to get the ball out there consistently and not just be running backs. But like you said, this is a team that's definitely looks like they're still in. I mean, Seattle's a good team, and they played them right to the wire and could have beat them the week before. So this team's still a competitive team, and it's going to be a problem.
Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the resurgence of Cam Newton. I thought that he was done. He's not done yet. And this Patriots team, although significantly worse than last year, although significantly worse than the years before, they're not done yet. And they're going to try to get this Super Bowl, maybe even number 7. But I think whenever they play Buffalo, I don't know what that is. That is going to be one of the biggest matchups of the year because those Buffalo games, they're going to decide the AFC East completely. I mean, yeah, Buffalo's 3-0, New England's 2-1. Yeah, week 8 and week 16.
Yeah,
I
week
believe.
8 and week 16.
Yeah, so those are going to be major matchups. So I think those are 2 games you got to look out for in the future. As for fantasy implications, I don't really got any waiver wire picks from both teams, but I will say trade Rex Burkhead if you can. I just can't trust the Patriots running backs, and I feel like there's going to be that one idiot in your league that's going to say, oh, Rex Burkhead did well. I'm getting him on my team. So if you can get Rex Burkhead for a high price, then do it. Otherwise, just stash him on your bench maybe. But, yeah, that's all I got to say about that game. You got anything else? Perfect. All right, let's move on. We were just talking about the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about them again. They beat the Rams 35-32. My opinion, that was one of the best games of the week. I mean, they did blow a 28-3 lead. They pulled the Falcons, and then they stepped it back up. And, I mean, I think you could say at this point that Josh Allen will be a top 5 quarterback in the NFL by the end of the year, easily.
Yeah, I've always been a huge Josh Allen fan. I think he took a brute of, I think, unnecessary criticism. Like, you kept seeing him. Like, I get he had that really stupid play in the playoffs where he lateraled it. I get he did some stupid stuff in the past 2 years. But the one thing that I kept seeing with him is progression. His year 1, he couldn't really complete anything. Year 2, he completed a little bit, and he started looking more athletic, and he was getting a little better. This year, it's starting to all come together, and there's no reason to really, like, you look at Lamar Jackson, he won the MVP last year, threw 97 yards last night against the Chiefs. Like, this is like you're a young quarterback. You're allowed to make mistakes. Like, you're allowed to have bad games. Josh Allen, I think, has done everything that Buffalo has asked for him. Like, he's had his mistakes in the past, but especially this season, he's lighting it up. I mean, the numbers speak for himself. He's throwing he's got 1,000 yards. He's running the ball in. He's got over 10 touchdowns. I mean, this is an MVP candidate. In my opinion, he's number 2 right now behind Russell Wilson. I had Russell as the pick of the year. I'm sticking to it. I think Russell Wilson will definitely win MVP. But, I mean, Josh Allen, this is very impressive. He's going to make mistakes, and he's going to do dumb stuff. But if he can do more better than more bad, more consistently, and keep getting better and keep, get improving, I don't know. I think the sky's the limit for him. I've always said the sky's the limit for him. This guy's really good.
Absolutely. And I have a friend who's the biggest Bills fan I know. And I said last year Jimmy Garoppolo was better than Josh Allen, which I think was true last year. This year it's debatable. I want to see one more game from Allen, one more game from Garoppolo, maybe because it's only been one game for Garoppolo. So that's why I'm not saying it yet. But he sent me a few stats. Josh Allen's career in the red zone, 42 touchdowns, 1 turnover, which is insane. In like 3 years, that's pretty crazy. Damn good if you ask me. And then I think it was 12 games or 13 games, 33 touchdowns, 3 picks. So, I mean, this dude is about to light up the league, I gotta say.
I always thought his ceiling for 2 quarterbacks that I thought he could kind of remind me of how they played was Big Ben and Cam Newton. How Cam Newton gets towards the goal line, can run it in, how Big Ben's tough. He's got a big arm. And I just think those numbers speak for himself. He's really not when it comes to the red zone, it's tough to stop him because his running ability and he can run you over. He's a bulldozer. It's real tough to stop. But on the other side, I've been impressed with Jared Goff. Even in this loss, I think he's been really efficient all year long. He threw for 300 yards again, 321 yards, 2 touchdowns. Last week he had 3 touchdowns, no picks, 267. I like what I've seen from him. I think the Rams are a good football team. I think these were 2 of the better teams in the NFL so far this season, and we got a good game out of it. I just hated that penalty at the end of the game, that pass interference call. Yeah, that was bullshit. I think the Rams should have won that game, but the Bills should never let them come back. It was a 25-point lead.
I know. I mean, yeah, I think the Rams, they've been defined. They've been down. They've been proving the haters wrong. I mean, everyone thought after that last season they're going to be like a 6-10 team. Right now they're 2-1, and they just kept they lost by 3 to a Bills team where they were also down 25 at one point. So I mean, yeah, this Rams team is looking really good, and I think. I mean, let's look at their upcoming schedule.
Yeah, looking at their schedule, they have the Giants, and then they got Washington, San Fran that's banged up, Chicago, Miami. These are pretty winnable games,
Absolutely. I mean, I think they can definitely they're definitely competing for a playoff spot right now. And I mean, I think everyone in the NFC West is doing the same thing. So that's why I mean, it's undoubtedly at this point the best division in football. Can we just all agree to that? Yes,
yeah, it definitely is. And they would have made the playoffs, interestingly enough, last year. If we had this extra playoff spot, the Rams would have been the 7th seed. The 7th seed with they went 9-7. So I know whatever it was, they would have been in the playoffs. So for how crappy they were last year, they would have made the playoffs in this new seeding. So I think this is definitely a playoff team this year. But good win for the Bills. Should have been a Rams win, but
that's all I got.
Good game from Henderson.
Absolutely. I was about to mention him. I think that's a great waiver wire pickup this week. Yes, Malcolm Brown is healthy. Cam Akers is still out, though. And I think the Rams, they're going to go with Henderson over Malcolm Brown. I don't know why. I just feel like they've been alternating a lot, which does kind of concern me. But usually I think Darrell Henderson is going to get the ball over Malcolm Brown a bit more. So I'm picking him up. If he doesn't, it is what it is. But I think it's a safe pickup. Low risk, high reward. So
keep an eye on Gabriel Davis from the Buffalo Bills. He had 80 reception yards last week. He's starting to come on. If John Brown's injury is worse than they thought, he had no catches last game. He could be coming. He could have a role as their number 2 receiver if Brown's out with Beasley in the slot.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely some good waiver wire pickups from that game. All right, let's move on to the Bears and the Falcons. What are the Falcons doing, man? I mean, Dan Quinn, this is one of the other bad coaching performances. He's got to get out of there, man. I don't see how this team can do anything with Dan Quinn now.
I don't see how anyone could just wake up on a Sunday morning and put a Matt Ryan jersey on and like root for this team. I'd be losing my freaking hair, my mind. Like I really like truly never felt for a fan base more. Like I don't even know. Like it's crazy. Like it's truly it's bizarre. Like every time it doesn't even seem feasible. Like it can make a comeback. It happens. Bears bench put in Nick Foles at halfway through the game. Guy throws 3 touchdown passes. I don't know. I mean, it scares me, to be honest, that the Packers play Atlanta next week, because every week it keeps seeing like the Falcons are more and more and more due for a win. And I don't know. It kind of scares me a little bit. But dude, they're pathetic. I mean, it really is pathetic. And the Bears are definitely the worst 3-0 team I have seen pretty much in a long time.
Absolutely.
It's crazy. They have one running back right now, a receiver that's playing running back. Cohen's now out for the year. They're low at receiver depth. Jimmy Graham scores 2 touchdowns. I don't know what's going on here. Something's going to start. They're going to trend down the other way soon. But
yeah, absolutely. I think I still don't have this team making the playoffs. I mean, I just don't see how this Bears team succeeds. I'm not going to call it a fluke win, because I definitely think it was definitely a good win for them. But 3-0, I think that is speaking more to itself than it should be. I don't think this team is that good. But yeah, Nick Foles coming in, I think that is the right move for Chicago for the future. But it will be very interesting to see what happens to Mitch Trubisky after this season, because I mean, his contract's up. So will the Chicago sign as a backup? Will another team use him as a backup? It'll be very interesting to see where his career takes off from here. So, yeah. All right. You got anything else about that game?
Last takeaway would be that not this week, but the next week after, we get a nice rematch of Tom Brady against Nick Foles.
Mm-hmm.
A little Super Bowl rematch.
That should be a very fun game on Thursday Night Football. So, and you got to see, I mean, even inflicting the pain more for Falcons fans, y'all play Tom Brady twice. So, I mean, that's just the memes are just going to be running away. I mean, not running away, but they're just going to be all out there. So I feel so bad. Falcons fans, I'm just so sorry for you. So, yeah. All right, moving on to the Browns and Washington game, where the Browns won 34-20. And this is the Browns team that I was hoping to see throughout the year. I mean, now you're 2-1, the first 500 record since 2014. This is the Browns team that I thought was going to make the playoffs. Yes, the Ravens loss was pretty bad. They've been able to bounce back pretty well from that. So I definitely think this Browns team is looking good. And as for Washington, I got to say, I mean, yes, they're still a bad team, but a 1-2 start and keeping games pretty, I mean, not pretty close, but 2 possession games against playoff caliber teams, in my opinion, I'd say it's a good start for both teams.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Haskins, I mean, 3 interceptions, pretty poor game from him. I think if you saw a better game from him and their offense, they could have honestly won this game. They had a chance. They couldn't stop the running game. That was a really poor performance for them. But they were in this game for a lot of it. But, I mean, Baker Mayfield still not impressing me. 156 passing yards, week before 219, week before 189. Hasn't thrown over 220 yards yet this season with Odell Landry. You know, sooner or later, someone's going to be able to maybe stop Chubb and Hunt, and you're going to have to rely upon Baker. And I'm still not sold on this team from a long standpoint of this, how much of their offense I believe in. I don't really believe in their defense that much as well either. I think that they just played a pretty bad Washington team that I think Washington could upset some teams this year when their defense really comes out and sets the tone. But they need help from Haskins, and Haskins has got to clean it up efficiently, because you're seeing a similar statistic and pretty much similar gameplay as like Daniel Jones has been doing, same draft class.
Absolutely. And I wouldn't say that this Browns team is like a Super Bowl contender, but I definitely think you can see them slipping as that 6 or 7 seed. I think I predict them 6 in the beginning of the year. I think right now you're looking at maybe 7, but we'll see how it goes. But I think, yeah, I'm not ready to call them. I'm not ready to call them a playoff team yet. But there's a reason I've had them in the playoffs. I mean, wins over the Bengals and Browns, okay. But I think the receiving core really got to step it up. I like their running games really carry them right now, and I can't really carry the whole workload. So if Odell and Landry, they can get more targets, Hooper too, that would be really great for this Browns team. So yeah, you got anything else?
No, last thing would be three big games coming up for Cleveland. They have Indianapolis, Dallas, Indianapolis, Pittsburgh. Three real tough teams. Not Cowboys are going to do more offensively. They don't have a tough defense, but Colts and Steelers have two pretty tough defenses that might have to make Baker actually throw the ball. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. But
Absolutely.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, speaking of one of those teams that you just mentioned, the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Houston Texans. They won 28-21. And, I mean, this is one of the reasons why I'm saying Houston isn't they should not be an 0-3 team. They've had such a hard schedule to start the year off. And, I mean, they played pretty well this game against a team that I have very high hopes for. So I thought it was a great performance from both teams. Steelers could have stepped it up a little bit more. But other than that, man, I thought it was a pretty good performance, pretty good game. And the Steelers are in definitely prime position right now to succeed this season.
The Steelers are deep. We both had them as good, like double-digit win teams this year. And Big Ben's been solid. Hasn't done anything wrong. But I'm really impressed with their depth. Where James Conner, he got hurt against the Giants on Monday Night Football. Benny Snell comes in, runs 100 yards. James Conner, the past two games, runs 100 yards, scoring touchdowns. Benny still doesn't do anything this game, but Anthony McFarland comes in, runs for over 40 yards, looks solid. Then it's like, Deontay Johnson looks solid. Then he gets hurt, but Chase Claypool comes in. James Washington, Juju. They have Ebron, Vance McDonald, where it's like, it just seems like they have a ton of weapons offensively, and they, their defense speaks to themselves. They're gonna be solid every single game. That they just look like a solid football team this year. They're getting wins. They're starting off hot 3-0, and this looks like a team that's gonna finish like 11-5, 12-4 when it's all said and done. Good win for the Steelers. Don't have much more to say about that. Houston, like you said. Tough sled, really tough start for the season. Really 3 tough games. They have Minnesota, Jacksonville these next 2 weeks, but then they're going to have Tennessee, Green Bay, 2 3-0 teams after that. So they're going to have to start stepping it up now. David Johnson's going to have to start get going. Good game from Randall Cobb. They got to start getting going right now, or Bill O'Brien's
out the door for sure. But I mean, you mentioned David Johnson. Right now, I'm not too concerned about him. I think first of all, Kansas City. Yeah, that was a tough game. I mean, he did pretty well, though. I mean, I forget what he had, but he had a touchdown. Ravens, I wasn't expecting him to get the ball at all, so I'm not surprised by that poor performance. And then Steelers, for considering how good the Steelers' run D is, yes, he's underperforming right now, yes, but I'm not concerned at all about him, really. I mean,
I agree with you.
I mean, the hard part of the schedule, it's going to get a lot easier soon. You're going to see them running the ball a lot more. I think next week they could beat Minnesota. I think there's a good chance they use David Johnson a lot. That's why I picked him up in fantasy for a very low price. So I think if you can get him at a low price, which I think a lot of people are selling him for, go ahead and do it. Also got Will Fuller from a trade I did last week. I'm definitely starting him this week against that Vikings secondary. So, yeah, I think the Texans could be on the rise fairly soon. So, yeah, that's all I really got to say.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, moving on to – let's get on to the afternoon games. There were 5 of them this week, starting with the Panthers and the Chargers. And this game really surprised me. I did not expect the Panthers to win. I was very disappointed in Joshua Kelly, who I had very high hopes for this game. But overall, I thought that was a great performance from the Carolina Panthers this week. And I think they definitely needed that win, get their first win of the year.
Yeah, I think they're two very similar teams. They have a lot of offensive skill position players. Defense right now doesn't have too much on either side because the Chargers have a lot of injuries. I think Teddy Bridgewater's just got to be able to just keep getting the ball out quick. He's got 3 stud receivers. He's got Mike Davis who can catch the ball out of the backfield. They got to get the ball to Ian Thomas, the tight end. I think get him involved a little more. But they don't have a defense that's going to really make noise this year, but they're going to upset some people. They looked good this game. Herbert looked pretty solid. I think he had 3. Let's check. He had 300 and he had 330 yards, 49 pass attempts, 35 for 49, 330, 1-1. So that's really a solid performance for a rookie quarterback. I think there's some things he can improve, but he looks like he's stepping up in the pocket. I like what when he's getting the rush, he's stepping up and throwing nice. I just don't really trust them too much at the end of the games right now. But I like what I see from them. Eckler and Allen has always dominated. Eckler is amazing, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I traded Eckler because I thought Kelly was going to do better. And now, I mean, I got Tyreek out of it, but it's not looking good for me at all. So, but yeah, overall Chargers, I thought they're looking good still. I thought, I mean, Herbert's looked great, a lot better than I thought he would. So I'm glad to see him doing that. But other than that, man, I think it was a pretty good game from the Panthers. Chargers hopefully can step it up a bit. They're 1-2 right now, so we'll see what they can do. You got something else to say?
I was trying to think, was it this game that they missed the lateral opportunity?
Yeah, it was this game. They would have won this game if they made that lateral. They would have won this game.
It was Eckler. So they pitched to Eckler. That was a beautiful. Yeah. Herbert stepped up in the pocket, threw that in route, and they pitched it Keenan Allen. That was
just behind him. It was so close, but they definitely could have won that game. So heartbreaking loss for the Chargers, but I think they can bounce back from this. Carolina, on the other hand, I don't know how they're going to do this year. I had them doing pretty poorly, but we'll see how it goes for the rest of the season. Moving on to one of the main guys of this video that I want to talk about, Adam Gase and the New York Jets. What a disgraceful performance from this team. And just like throughout the season, you got blown out twice. You lose week 1 to a division opponent. This is hands down the worst team in football, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, they're definitely the worst team in football.
Yeah,
it's just because there's so many of my friends are Giants and Jets fans that it's almost the Giants almost cloud your vision too of being the worst team, where there's so much negativity as in the Jets world, but there's so much with the Giants that you like compare the two. They're almost 1A, 1B right now. They're really like could be the two worst teams in the league, like 1 and 2. Like you see Jaguars. They could have a shot to do something, but even Gardner Minshew impresses me a lot of times way more than Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold do. The Jets playing calling with Adam Gase has been terrible for the past 2 seasons. He's been an offensive play calling coach. They claim him he's a guru. I don't know what he does, to be honest. This whole thing's a disaster. I think if they lose to the Broncos against Mark Rypien, Thursday night, I think they got to fire him. I really think that it's one of these situations that there's nothing that's going to good coming out of this. Darnold's not progressing. They haven't got the team I don't know. There's nothing good out of this. They got to get rid of him. This is a disaster.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just something happened and I just had to text it back. But I mean, you're in North Jersey, right?
I'm like Central Jersey. So I live like an hour away from the stadium.
Yeah, you're probably hearing it a lot from those Jet fans about this team. So they got to figure something out or else. I mean, Darnold's going to be out the door this year if they can't figure it out. It's been for
years. Like the Jets and Giants have been bad for like 5 years consistently. Like the worst teams in the league. They've been top 5 picks for the past 5 years. The Giants have won, I think it was like 14-40 since that Odell Beckham boat picture. It's disgraceful. So, I mean, the Jets, when Kalen Ballage comes in and is becoming like one of your – like Kalen Ballage is to the point where he almost can be picked up in fantasy at this point. The dude got 5 catches last game. He probably had like 10 points, and he's probably going to have a role in this offense going further. Like anyone on the Jets who catches a ball is going to be a fantasy aspect. And Braxton Berrios, you're going to have to almost look at soon.
Oh, yeah, definitely a waiver wire pickup. Definitely a waiver wire pickup for fantasy. So, I mean, I have Le'Veon on my team. I'm hoping the Jets can step it up, give the ball to him because he's going to be the workhorse once he comes back. But we'll see about that. I mean, as for the Colts, their defense is legit this year. I mean, I took them 16th round of my league, just seeing that upcoming schedule. It was looking great for I think they got Chicago next week. They got some other pretty bad teams coming up. So I'm really glad I took this.
Yeah, we mentioned that. I was mentioning that last week that just hold on to this defense. I know they didn't do much a couple weeks ago, but their upcoming schedule, including this Jet game, 26 points I had. That was my leading score of the day.
Absolutely. And I mean, I won my game by 2 points, and I had the Colts D. So I mean, I could definitely say that they won me my fantasy game this week. I'm now 3-0, so it's looking good for my team. So what's your record right now?
I have 2 leagues, Dynasty and regular. I'm 3-0 Dynasty, 2-1. I had a shitty luck this week. I had Russell Gage and Dallas Goedert leave the game in the first quarter. Like, had a couple stuff like that happen to me. But on the Colts standpoint, Michael Pittman, a guy I was always hyping up, he got injured and he's probably going to be out for 6 weeks now. So you're looking at obviously T.Y. Hilton. He hasn't been doing too much. But I think the 2 guys are going to be Zach Pascal and either Ashton Doolin or Darius Fountain. I wouldn't pick up either one of them. I think Zach Pascal is going to definitely get a nice, good amount of targets every week. Mo Alley Cox has been solid at tight end. He looks like he's starting to take over the number 1 role. But Colts look good. Jonathan Taylor always looks good. But a last note I want to make about this game is the New York Jets. Like I was saying, they play Denver Thursday night. If they lose to them, they got Kyler Murray the next week. They're going to get shredded by Kyler Murray. The Chargers, they probably won't beat, and they got to go to L.A. there. So they got to get off the plane on a long plane ride. They're probably going to lose that game. They got to go against Buffalo the next week again. They played them week 1 and then got killed. Like, they're probably going to get killed by them again. Then they got to go at Kansas City, then New England. So this could be a team that could be 0-7, like, when we look at it. Like, this could really be a panic, like, 0-7 team.
Yeah, I mean, you could be looking at a team that goes 2-14 throughout the year, if I'm being completely honest. That's how bad this team is right now. So they got to figure something out really quickly. So, yeah. All right, we're kind of low on time. Let's try to finish up these last 5 games really quickly. Seahawks, Cowboys, what a game overall from both teams. And this is why Russell Wilson's the MVP, man. But as for both teams, I think they got to improve their secondaries. I think that's really the only thing holding Dallas back at this point. Their secondary play has been god-awful. Seattle's secondary play, that's one of the I really had high hopes for the secondary, and they're really disappointing me right now. So, yeah, that's all I really got to say about that game.
I think I've seen enough. I really think I've seen enough from these 2 teams. Like, Seattle, I think, is really going to be a championship contender. I think everyone's starting to see it now. Like, they might not win the Super Bowl. They might not win the NFC, but they're going to be right there at the end of the year. They might be the 1 seed when it's all said and done in the year. Russell Wilson is lights out. No one's going to stop him throughout the course of the season. I don't see this team losing more than like 3 games this whole year.
Absolutely.
The Dallas Cowboys, I really think I've seen enough. I think that this is a Mike McCarthy team. I've seen this story before. He doesn't even he forgets that there's a defense. Like he only cares about the offense, and it starts showing they're getting blown out every single week. Like, their defense is getting destroyed every single week. Mike McCarthy team give no help on the defensive side of the ball. That was the whole narrative with Aaron Rodgers. They would be Rodgers, every playoff loss, the other team would score like 45 points. So you're starting to see this again. Michael Gallup looked great. Cooper looked good. Lamb looked good. They stopped Zeke, but Dak can only do so much. He can only throw for 400 yards every game, and their defense has got to do something sooner or later. Aldon Smith's been the whole defense so far. He's leading the league in sacks right now, but that's crazy.
As a Niners fan, I am just so happy to see Aldon Smith back on the field. I mean, that dude was probably one of my favorite players in that Jim Harbaugh era. And for that to come collapsing down, that was just so heartbreaking. Now he's back on the field, 4 sacks, leading the league. I'm so happy for that guy. But yeah, man, Cowboys really got to step up that secondary. I know the pass rush, I feel like they're really trying to envision what the Niners are doing. I mean, strong pass rush, weak-ish secondary, I guess. Can say, I don't know. It's hard to tell how good this Niners secondary is without that defensive line help. But yeah, I think definitely they got to step it up. And Seattle's, their front seven has been doing a great job this year, which I was kind of surprised to see. So overall, good performance from both teams. So that's all I gotta say. Moving on, unless you got anything else.
No, good.
Perfect. Let's move on to the Lions and Cardinals. This is why I had the Lions winning the division. Finally back on track. 26-23. They got Galladay back. They beat the Cardinals, who were 2-0 going into this game, rolling. And I mean, yes, I still think they should fire Patricia, but this is where I wanted to see the Lions right there.
Yeah, this didn't surprise me too much. Cardinals are they matched up well with the Cardinals. You definitely want to see more of these type of games from the Lions. Stafford looked good, threw in a lot of nice deep out routes to Marvin Jones. I think Galladay's a big help from them. When he comes back, he really helps their offense a lot. I mean, this is really interesting to me was that they drafted DeAndre Swift in the second round. You know, they drafted Kerryon Johnson in the second round 3 years ago. And Adrian Peterson's getting like 20 carries every game. I mean, at some point, they want to, like, I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, you would think that Swift would get the ball and not a 35-year-old running back. But good win for the Lions. I think Andy Isabella really stood out to me. Slot receiver, had 2 touchdowns, really fast. That was someone I liked. I don't know if I would go and pick him up because I think Christian Kirk really was the main reason for that because he was out in the slot. But Kyler Murray's got to be a little bit better with being efficient with throwing the football.
Absolutely.
I think that's something that is maybe not being talked about. I know he's so fast, and I know he's so hard to tackle. He's electrifying. He's thrown an interception every game this season. He threw 3 this week. He threw 1 the last 2 weeks. So he's already had 5 interceptions this year, and this is a guy that he's having a little bit of trouble of taking care of the football. And when the games get colder, defenses get better, the pass rush comes on. I just hope to see that he can, be smart with the football, and that could be something that could be a concern going further.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not too concerned about him, but he's definitely got to step that up. And if they want to make that play, as we were just talking about a little while ago, how rough that NFC West is. If they want to make that playoffs, everyone's going to have to perform to their best ability every game. Because, I mean, in that NFC West, you cannot afford to lose games, especially division games. And I mean, you already see with the Niners, they could be 3-0, but they lost to the Cardinals, gave them an advantage over them. It could be 3-0, 1-2. Instead, it's 2-1, 2-1, which makes the Niners schedule a lot harder and the Cardinals' road to the playoffs a lot easier. So every team in that division is going to have to step it up for sure. But great win for the Lions. Glad to see them back on track. Moving on, Bucks, Broncos. All I really got to say is just how unlucky can the Broncos be? Now they got Jarrell Casey out for the year. I feel bad for Broncos. I thought our injuries were bad. Take a look at the Broncos. I feel
you said it last week, and it's completely right. Like, it's at the point where they remind me of the 49ers team 2 years ago with Nick Mullins coming in. Nick Mullins came in on that Thursday night football game. The entire team was hurt. They had a good team around them, but everyone was hurt, and it was a weird year. That's what it seems like with the Broncos, where Mark Rypien's his uncle. Brett Rypien is going to come in and, he could be a little bit of spark for them. I mean, they have so many injuries where it could almost be a bizarre thing where these backups come in, they can maybe squeak out a couple wins, go like 3-3 this next stretch. And then some of these guys that are getting hurt could come back, and not like Sutton, obviously. Some of these guys are out for the season, but Drew Lock could come back. A couple of these guys can come back and maybe make some noise. But this has been a terrible, terrible, unfortunate year for their injury luck. I mean, Jarrell Casey's now on the IR. Yeah, Boye, the list goes on. It sucks for them. Tampa Bay, Brady looks good and efficient. Don't really got much to say, but it was a good game from Tom. Want to see what they do more when they have a defense that's a little more better at pass rushing. He looked a little slow when they actually had time when they were going at him, but good win for them. Godwin's going to miss time, though. Yeah,
Godwin's going to miss time. That's a bit unfortunate. Personally, I was avoiding Mike Evans fantasy-wise. Now I think I got to pick him up. Or not pick him up, but like if you can get a good deal for him, I would do that. I know someone in my league got a great deal for him. So that's another guy again, fantasy. But overall, it seems like the Bucks are back on track. Broncos, man, it could be a rough ride this year for that team. So yeah, I think
KJ Hamler and Scotty Miller, 2 slot receivers from both those teams. I would go add both of them. Scotty had 80 reception yards. He's getting the ball every game. He's starting to get that confidence and that chemistry going with Tom, where he's starting to look at him like an Edelman, Amendola type of receiver. KJ Hamler is a slot guy. I think he's gonna start getting the ball a lot more. Brighton's gonna have to get the ball out quick. I think those are 2 guys to add this week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you can definitely add both those guys, both great options for the receiver positions. This week's pretty deep for receivers, so you might even be better off not even putting in a waiver claim unless you really want a guy like Justin Jefferson. So, yeah, for sure. All right, Sunday night game. Let's finish with that, and then the Monday night game as well. So, your Packers beat the Saints 37-30. Another great performance from the Packers. What a performance from Allen Lazard stepping up in place of Devontae Adams. I mean, the Packers, I said they were a fluke this year. They've proved me wrong. They have proved me wrong in every aspect. This team is for sure a legit playoff team.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that really concerned me going into the season is the run defense, and they actually haven't solved that whatsoever. You know, Alvin Kamara was running around the field. There was one play that made us look like a Pop Warner team, to be frank. We looked terrible. We actually gave up 13 receptions, I'm pretty sure, to Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was their whole offense. And there was a couple bright spots from their defense, but I really actually didn't like what I saw from the Packers defense. I think the big reason of that was Kenny Clark is one of the better D tackles in the NFL, run stopper, and him being out, I think definitely affects their run defense. I really think that's definitely a big reason. Christian Kirksey's are starting inside linebacker. He left the game early. So I think those are the reasons, but offensively, Aaron Rodgers without Devontae Adams looks great. Their offensive line is not getting enough credit. Their offensive line's honestly been the best in the NFL this season. He hasn't been sacked one time this season. He's been pressured like 6 times this whole season. Allen Lazard looked incredible. Jones looked good as always. Robert Tonyan might be someone to start looking at tight end if you need a tight end, backup tight end, streamer. Good win for the Packers, though. I like what I see. I love what I see from this offense. Matt LaFleur, guys moving in motion. It's just a whole different offense than what I saw in the McCarthy years.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you mentioned that offensive line. That's why I had them. One of the big reasons I had them missing the playoffs. And that offensive line has proven me wrong. Same with the receivers. I mean, Lazard's looked fantastic. Devontae's looked fantastic when healthy. I mean, yes, they got fixed in the defense, but overall, I really, really like this Packers team, and I think you could be seeing a lot of big things for them. So, yeah. All right. Finally, the Monday night game, one of the most hyped up Monday matchups of all time, and it didn't really live up to that hype at all. I mean, Chiefs the score does not tell the full story. The Chiefs blew out the Ravens. So
I think the craziest part of this game is you have two teams where you have Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Mark Ingram, J.K. Dobbins. I mean, the list goes on. Hollywood Brown. None of them scored a touchdown. Lamar. None of them. Not one of them scored a touchdown. You had the left tackle, Eric Fisher. You had the Chiefs left tackle, Eric Fisher. You had the Chiefs fullback, Anthony Sherman. Backup receiver, McCole Hardman scores. The Ravens backup tight end, Nick Boyle scores. Their returner, Devin Duvernay scores. Like, no one normal in this game scored a touchdown. It was all just it was a perfect night to take the random touchdown prop bet. It was just really random all-around performance. Did not like what I saw from this Ravens team at all. This is a team that played they played week 1. They played
they played Cleveland and absolutely dominated them.
They played Cleveland, week 1, and played Houston week 2. Those are two teams that they're definitely not one of the better two teams right now in the league. They're in the mid-tier in the AFC. And when you all went up against a Chiefs team that doesn't even have a dominant defense, they really exposed this Ravens team. I'm going to hope for the Ravens standpoint that they came out flat. But either way, their defense didn't look good. The one thing that they were really trying to improve this year was their run D and be able to stop these Kelce's and Tyreek Hills. They didn't do any of that. They really just made it look easy, the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes dominated, and there really was not one positive thing to say about the Ravens last night.
For real, man. And I mean, the Chiefs looked absolutely dominant. I don't see how anyone can stop Mahomes. So, yeah, I mean, that's really all I got to say about this game. You got anything else to say about this game? Any other games? Anything else you want to bring up before we end this?
No, I thought that it was a solid week. I think from seeing Rodgers to versus Breeze, we really were excited for Lamar versus Mahomes. But I think the Chiefs proved that they're the best team in the football. They're the defending champs, and they're the ones that you got to go after. You got to go after them to take them down, to go after the title, to take I don't know. I think the Chiefs are the best team, and they proved it once again. So I hope there's a good week coming up ahead. You're prime time, right? Next week, Sunday.
Yeah, we're prime time against the Eagles.
Monday.
So that should be fun to watch. But yeah, I don't got anything else to say. We're going to tweet out our predictions on Twitter at Gridiron Brawl. Make sure to follow us. Stay tuned for that. So, yeah, we'll get those out soon. Pat, you can just DM those to me and I'll tweet those out on the account. So yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for watching.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Make sure to check out all the Gridiron Brawl Twitter accounts, all the Brawl Network Twitter accounts, all the Brawl Network podcasts, and we will see you guys next time. See ya.